Hello friends, welcome to the final video of the series. So we are basically creating an AI agent using LangChain and LangGraph. Now, if I show you the final output in the last video that we achieved when we created agent.py file was something like this. If you remember, I'm just showing you that. So in the last video, I have shown you that when I had a question that what is my revenue for SKU6, the models did some sort of call, and this is the entire history for this entire conversation. And finally, I had an output. Now what I'll do is, see, in the backend as of now, we have specified the particular question. Obviously, as a user, you will have this interaction in the front end. So we will create the front end part first. Okay. Now, in order to create the front end part, what we will do is we will do the installation of the Streamlit. Streamlit is one of the tools where you can connect the backend and the front end without worrying about the API calls. If you haven't done the installation of the Streamlit, what I'll do is I will suggest you to go to my channel, okay, and there is already a video there. You can go and do the first video where I've shown you how to do the installation with Streamlit. And you will understand that Streamlit is one of the easiest way to create your prototype. Just do the installation, and once you've done the installation, come back to this particular tutorial. What I've done here is, again, since I've already done installation with Streamlit, I have created a file which is user.py file, which is for the front end part. See, I've imported the library which is Streamlit, import Streamlit, and this is ask agent is basically my final output from the agent.py file. If you remember, I've defined the function ask agent and I put down my entire agent into this. So I'm importing this function ask agent. Okay. Now I'm saying that as a user, okay, ask your question, which is a placeholder. The user input we will pass to the ask agent, if you remember something like this, okay, and I will have an answer. This is my answer, and I will display my answer in the front end. That's it. So from backend to front end, with just these two lines of code, you can connect your backend and the front end without worrying about any sort of API calls. If you want to see the output, I'll just show you the output. In order to use this Streamlit, write Streamlit run user.py. Okay. If you have done the installation for the Streamlit and if you're running it for the very first time, it may ask you for your mail ID. Okay, because an account has to be created in a Streamlit. So use that, put your mail ID. It's a one-time effort, and your this particular file would be online. This is the final output. If you want to understand, ask any questions, okay. And when I made a click on this submit button, finally I have an output. Okay, so your agent is working fine. What I've done here is, obviously this is very plain and very simple. So I've created a different file which is user underscore input.py and have added some of the CSS elements. Okay. What I'll do is I'll open this particular file just to show you that when you add a CSS element, because whenever you are going to present this particular file to someone, your presentation actually matters a lot. So once you have this, okay, I'll just show you that this is the final output that I have shown you in my entire three videos, and this is what we will achieve. Okay, so this is again, your heading has been refined, the font size has been refined, there is some sort of color coding, and once we have an output, obviously we will be able to see our logbook also, which was already there in the backend, but I have passed this entire thing in the front end also. Now this is something that we haven't discussed, in the sense what is my reorder dashboard. What I've done is in my custom tools, okay, I've already written a small function, okay, for this custom part. This is a function, okay, and I'm leaving it to you guys to figure it out. It's a very small function, and once you click on this particular thing, okay, on the reorder, obviously a reorder call would be triggered, As of now, it is not connected to any API endpoint, but again, you can create an agent for the same thing. So first of all, okay, if you have reached here till this particular point of time and have completed this, trust me, you have make a great leap in learning LangChain, LangGraph, and have created an agent which actually works on a real life scenario. Now, why I have chosen a grocery agent is because grocery agent or any sort of mart is very easy to visualize, in the sense every one of us whoever is watching video is impacted by the grocery agent or any sort of mart or any sort of shops. Now these shops will have some sort of revenue, will have some sort of inventory, and if someone asks you, okay, what is the point in creating agents for the marts or the shops, one thing you need to understand is these shops have a very high degree of uh, uh, ir- uh, these shops have a very high degree of uh, see, when you go into any of the dmarts, okay, or any of the marts, you will have the inventory, you will have revenue, you will have daily order quantity, you will have some sort of marketing and so on. So if someone asks you, okay, what is something that you want to achieve from this particular thing, you can say that, okay, when I'm working in an inventory part, I have a visibility for the days of the stock that I have left it out. Now I can always go to the procurement team to say, okay, you are supposed to place order. The procurement team can have their own agent which will fetch the news that, since we are involved in logistics part, okay, the procurement team will try to understand that, okay, these are my some vendors which are located in different parts of the country, and because of some issues, maybe it could be fuel issues, or it could be a temperature issue, or it could be shortage of the vehicles, that is why the procurement will got delayed, and because of that the revenue get impacted. Then you can create a marketing agent where marketing team may come and say, okay, say SQ39, we are running out of stock, the order has been delayed, and this is our prime SKU, in the sense our revenues is directly going to be hit, what should be done? Maybe some from the marketing team can come and say, okay, SQ39 and SQ7 are very correlated to each other, and that is why we should have some sale on the SQ7, which will bring the price of SQ7 very close to the price of the SQ39, and that is why people will go from SQ39 to SQ7, and that is why our revenue won't get impacted, or it could be minimized, or it could be jeopardized. So this is where the agents will come into play, or the multi-agents will come into play, where you will create one of your agents, some other will create their own agents. Agents will start to talk each other, and your risk could be minimized, in the sense instead of waiting for 7 or 10 days to understand your company is going to take a hit on the revenue. On the very first day, you will know that this is my pain point and this is how I can solve it. This is the whole purpose of creating this entire agent. Okay, and I think I'm able to relate with all of you. So what I'll do is I will delete my this particular thing, that is user.py file, okay, and I'll move my user input.py file. Now, in order to publish this entire thing online, okay, that is step two. Obviously, we are supposed to do some sanity check, in the sense your .env file is there and your API key is there. Obviously, you are not going to send this API key online. So we will create a file which is .gitignore, okay. What it will do is, whatever you put in this particular file, it will ignore this before sending online. And this is some memory cache, and that is why we will place these two things, that is .env file and this particular thing, in my gitignore. So whenever I will push this thing online in the sense I'm talking about the GitHub. GitHub is the easiest way to make your things online, and from GitHub we will move to Replit. Okay, so first thing that we are supposed to do here is to move my entire code into GitHub. If you are hearing the name of the GitHub for the very first time, okay, GitHub is an online repository and it's used everywhere. Okay, just create your account on GitHub. Without GitHub, it won't be possible for you to publish this online in a very easy or hassle free manner. And GitHub is something, whenever you are going to create projects, GitHub is the best way to share or to showcase your skills. So we will push this entire thing first in a GitHub. I don't want to push my this API key, and that is why I have put this entire thing in a gitignore file. Now, one thing more that you need to understand is, you use Streamlit, you use LangChain, you use LangGraph, and every time when you are using this entire thing, okay, LangChain, LangGraph, all of these things, okay, you are supposed to do installation. Pip install Streamlit, LangChain, LangGraph, that you have already done. Okay. Now, when we are sending this entire thing online, we also need to define what were the requirements for this particular project. So we will create a file, requirements.txt, okay, and we'll put all these dependencies in this particular file. I've already listed out what are the dependencies in this project, and I'm putting it here. Okay, So these are dependencies in this particular project. So this is ready to be pushed into GitHub. Now how we will be pushing it into GitHub is, there are multiple ways to do it. We will choose the most easiest way, in the sense we will connect our VS code with the GitHub. First of all, click here on accounts and make sure your account is not connected. If it is connected, it is all good. You have already done some 2 or 3 steps. But if it's not connected, it's all fine. You just create an account on the GitHub, and we will be using this profile name, okay, to connect it. So what I'll do here is I'll write git init in the terminal. Okay. Now as soon as you do it, okay, now as soon as you do it, okay, this the color of this entire thing will change to you, that is uncommitted. And this arrow sort of structure, that is source control, when you click on this particular thing, okay, it will ask you to type one particular message, something, okay, say I'm saying it is my first commit number one, okay, and I'm committing this entire thing to my GitHub account. Now open this particular part, okay, something which is graph here, okay, and click here, that is moving to cloud. It will ask you to sign using your GitHub account. Okay, so it is asking me to connect my VS code with my GitHub. Click continue. So once you open your GitHub, it basically shows you the entire thing, in the sense all your files, gitignore, agent, custom tools. Now one thing to remember here is it is not showing .env file. Why? Because we placed our .env file within this gitignore file, okay, and that is why it is not showing here. Now one thing that you need to understand here is your files are still active on this particular laptop or your account. Whenever you are going to make any changes here as of now, okay, it will show you that you need to commit this change in your main account, in the sense in your GitHub account, if you want to do that, and it will directly show here any sort of changes if you are going to make. You don't have to reconnect your GitHub and your VS Code editor again and again. As soon as you make changes, you can commit those changes to the main branch, or you can create separate branch too, and can publish your code into the GitHub. So my codes have been moved to the GitHub. That is step 2 that we have already done. Now the last step is to move this entire tutorial or this entire codes, okay, into my Replit. Replit is an online hosting tool. So I've already created my account on the Replit. If you haven't done it, please do so, replit.com, and create your account. Now what I'll do here is, since I already have my GitHub account, okay, if you can see I already have a given GitHub account. I have moved my code into the GitHub. What I'll do here is I'll click here and I will copy this particular thing, okay, code. I will go on Replit. This is the home page of the Replit. Okay. Click here on import code or design and click here on GitHub. And that is why I've shared you that directly upload your code to the GitHub. From GitHub, you can connect to anything which is online. I'll push my repo here. It is saying that GitHub repo is basically a private account. So let's make it settings here on the page itself, and somewhere it will show you to make it as a public. Change to public, something like this. Okay. So coming back to the main page, you can see now the it has been transformed into public. Go here, click on code, copy this particular part. Okay, go here again and paste your repo. You can change the name in the sense LangGraph honest PM. Okay, and I'm basically importing this entire my code which was there here itself into Replit. Okay, see Replit also has an inbuilt agent. So whenever there is some issue with this particular upload, okay, you can directly have a chat with the agent, and more or less the agent is able to solve your issues. So the import has been going on. I just don't want to make every one of you on the call as sort of busy. So I just hope that as of now, till now, since we this is going, so the agent has been working as of now. You can see it is going build, and slowly and slowly, okay, it will try. So it is basically building your app. If there is some issue, it will ask you. The agent will ask you basically that if they can rectify it, and more or less they are able to rectify it. Okay, it could be possible since see we haven't passed our API key, so it will ask for the API key. Okay, just pass on the API key which we have created for the Groq or for the Chat GPT or for the Gemini, whatever they were going to use it. See, it is basically saying that let me check if I have a Groq API key. Since I've already passed my API key here, so it is taking directly from my API key. If you're doing it for the very first time, it will ask for the API key. Just paste that API key here, and your API key is hidden. Don't worry about that. Since you have already passed your all the requirements in the requirements.txt file, if you remember, this was your requirements.txt file. Okay, so it is basically reading your dependencies and it's installing the dependencies which is required to run your entire file. This entire thing, that is from right from build to execute, may take some time. Have patience. If you have followed the video and have created files in the same modular format, trust me, there is not going to be any issues and your app will be published. So till the time the installation process is under control, okay, I just wanted to have a quick recap of the things. In a sense, we discussed about LangChain analogy between a human. In a sense, humans have brain, have tools, and have nervous system to connect with them. The agents have LLM, have tools. Tools will depend upon the industry in which you are working. And finally, in order to connect the LLM and the tool, we have LangChain. Now, as a human being, we have our set of defined routine, something like this that we're supposed to do. In a sense, wake up in the morning, try to figure out what the breakfast could be, then reach to the office, do certain work, then come back home, and that is a termination state. Similarly, when you are creating an agent, okay, the agent will have an input from the user, the agent will call different tools, will keep on having this entire loop, and finally we will have an output. Okay, going back, I think something has been done. So it is basically asking me that if you want to choose the same API key, yes, because I have already tested it for some different app. So the API key will remain same for me. Okay, it is setting my project. And see, if you want to see that where your files are there, you can basically click here on the right side top. Okay, and it will show your entire files here. You can see all the files are here. Okay, you can directly even edit from this particular thing, which again is never suggested. Okay, whatever the changes you want to make, you should make your changes in your GitHub account itself, and then finally come to this particular thing. This is purely for the publishing part. You are not supposed to make changes into this particular thing. So we were here in a sense as an agent. We will start from somewhere else. So this is what we have here right now. Okay. Now click here on publish and publish. That's it. So it's a very rare sort of thing where everything is running fine in the sense I uploaded code, there wasn't issue, and I am particularly looking for the build, and already the build was created. At least it was tested. So again, there was no issue. Then bundle, then promote, and then publish. Okay. So I'm just assuming that everything will go on fine and fine because obviously I have practiced this creating an app several times. So I hope there should not be any issue into that. But when you are creating it for the very first time, there would be issues. Don't worry about that. Whatever the issues will come, you can directly have a conversation here in the Replit agent itself. Okay. And more or less, it is able to solve the problem in most of the cases. Yep. So this is how it will look like. Okay. Once this entire uh, build, promote, and things has been done, this is what it will look like. You can copy this domain directly here. Okay, and paste it here. Okay. It's basically the same link. Okay, I'm just letting you know this is how it will look like. Copy directly your link from here, and it's particularly online in the sense you can share this particular link with anyone. Even if you shut down your laptop, it will work it out. So just for the final time, what is my revenue for say SKU 35? Okay, and finally I have an output. This is my entire logbook in the sense state 0 human message, state 1 AI message, the tool part. The tool gave an output which was an input for the AI. The AI again called a different tool which is basically inventory into unit price, and I do have a final output. So this is my entire LangGraph, LangChain AI grocery agent, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this creation of the AI grocery agent. Just for the final part, this was our flow chart. If you remember, okay, we had a data in the Excel format. We convert this data into a database. Okay, we defined prompt. Okay, we defined our LLM using the API key. We created LLM, we created agent. Again, what is an agent? Agent is basically LLM plus tools. We defined this entire flow in the sense of conversation using LangChain, and these are the two important graphs which we discussed in the sense whenever we will have our entire history of the conversation in the user graph, which basically is a state. Whenever a user passes the input, it will go to assistant will pass the same thing to LLM will see if the tools has to be called, will pass this back to the assistant, and finally this to and from motion will go on. Every conversation will be a message in the logbook or in the graph book, something like this. Okay, so every time LLM to tool, the assistant will pass this information. Okay, this the LLM will pass this particular information, okay, back to state. And finally we have one more graph which was something like this that we defined. We need to understand what is my start point and for my end point. So every time whenever the user is passing the information, it will go to assistant, which is LLM itself. Now LLM will decide whether I require a tool, yes or no. If yes, tool is required, it will go to tool node. The tool node will pass information back to the LLM, and this to and from motion will go on. Once no tool is required, LLM will say, okay, proceed to the output, and it will go to the user. So these are two important things that we discussed in our entire video. Now, finally, coming back, see, this whole point in creating this entire playlist is because I too started from a very core background, and right now I'm working on the product side using agents, creating flows, and everything. And I do understand that whenever you have ChatGPT, everyone has Gemini, at least free access, everyone has, but these are not the only tools which are used to write emails. Okay, this is something which is going to make you super effective, productive, and obviously it is not going to replace you, but it is going to reduce your time to a very small shrink, in the sense you whatever you want to achieve in 8 hours you can achieve in 2 to 3 hours. You just need to first understand how this entire thing works out. And trust me, right now today you are working on the langchain langgraph, tomorrow you may be learning about something else. But this entire flow that we discussed, if you remember this entire thing, it's something which is making you different from the other product people or other developer people. Because moving ahead, writing code is not something which the company is going to pay you. But when you rise up in the ladder and you want to create your presence in the market, your vision and your way of defining things matter a lot. Your flowchart matters a lot, that exactly what has to be done. If you say, okay, I need to convert my data into database, a lot of people can do it, but sometimes you have to understand that why you need to convert data into database. If someone says, okay, I need to write prompt, anyway can write a prompt, but what prompt has to be written, it is you only which has to decide. Someone say, okay, I can define as many tools as you want. Tools are basically what functions. We can define daily order quantity tool, customer engagement tool, maybe procurement tool, maybe news tool, anything I can create. But as a PM, as a product part, or as a people, when you are working in any of the industry, maybe in strategy or maybe in procurement or maybe in the customer side, you need to understand what is important for you. Because you don't have infinite resources and you cannot keep on defining tools. You need to define that, okay, these are the three tools from which I will have an output. The output from one tool may be an input for the different tool, and so on. So the graph matters a lot. You, and in today's world, even if you don't know how to write code, but you are able to understand what code has to be written, somewhere some people will easily write the codes for you. Okay, so this particular is the end of this entire playlist, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And if you think that this entire playlist has even increased your value addition or has improved your portfolio even by say 1%, please subscribe with the channel, like it, share with your friends, make some comments. My mail id, my github are all public, in a sense you can connect with me. And if there is any issue with any of the things or any of the installations, just let me know in my channel. Till then, take care, and I will come back with a new series.